Happy hump day! Today we're making pots. It's gonna be super fun and super easy. Here are some that I've made before. We are going to be using cement, so get your masks out. I know cement isn't the most sustainable of materials. There are probably better options. Certainly clay is one of them, but I wanted to find a way of using the sand that I grow on outside. And this is a good way of doing it because we use 1 part cement to 3 parts sand. So it's mostly sand. If you don't have access to sand in your backyard like I do, it is cheap and readily available. You can probably use any kind of sand, given that I use just like dirt sand. But definitely if you have access to clay, then you should use that. I don't. You can buy clay, but it's more expensive. That's the other thing. I like it to be cheap. Cheap and sort of using shit that I already have. So that's what this is. So what you're going to need is a bag of cement. This was like a couple of dollars. You can get other colors, but given that I am using like brown-ish sand from my garden, it was gonna be a yucky color anyway, so I don't know, I kind of like the color. It's not, it just looks like cement. You're going to need some little pots or whatever you want to make your pots the size of. So I've got some tubes and some other dudes. You're gonna need a mixing bowl and your sand. You can see there's some perlite in here. That really doesn't matter. It just works as an extra aggregate and gives you some more texture, I guess. This is my sand. This is damp because it's been sitting out in the rain, but you have to add water anyway, so it should be fine. And you're also going to need some newspaper, which I forgot, and some water. Okay, so what we're going to do first is just line our pots up, leaving a bit of space because it's going to run a little bit, like not too much. It's not going to be runny. That's the tray of water that I got to wet newspaper. We're going to grab some newspaper. And wet it. And you're just going to cover the pot. Yeah, just roughly. Then I'm just going to do the rest of them. The newspaper just makes it easier to slide the pots off of your mold. You can get it off sometimes if it's just on plastic, but it makes it a lot harder. And you can break your pot. Yeah, just fold any excess in underneath if you want. It's really, I mean, it's not perfect. Okay, so now we've got all of our boys lined up nicely. We're just going to move them aside. And we're going to get out our mixing bowl. The good thing about this is that your cup can be any size. It doesn't matter. I've got this. It's just the amount that you're putting on the ratio. So we're going to put 3 of sand. And then 1 of cement. But first we're going to put our masks on. I'm just going to read on here how much water you would need to put in. Oh, it just says to suit, so that's helpful. But you can see mine's already moist. And I guess we'll just... Is that a thrip? We'll just go from there. And then we're just going to mix it up. You can use like a spoon. I should probably be wearing gloves, but I don't really care. I'm just going to add a little more water because that is not really, I can't mold with that. It's a bit too crumbly. You do want to be careful though once you've put water in because it gets real sloppy real fast. I'm just going to take out these roots because, I mean, it's fine to leave them in as like an aggregate that'll help hold the cement together. But I don't want too many because it doesn't look as cute when you've got roots just hanging out the side. Make sure you get into the corners. I don't think this is going to be quite enough for the amount that I've done. But yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Might even be slightly too damp now, but that's fine. Okay, you can take your mask off now. So I'm just going to start with this first one. Going to grab a little handful and just put it on top and sort of squish it down. I sort of aim for like a 1 centimeter thickness because too thick and you're just like, it becomes like a waste of space on the shelf, but it will be more structurally sound. But too thin and it could break once it dries. Yeah, you'll see it sort of spreads out at the top, which means you end up with a fat lip on it. So I sort of try to bring it in a bit. come down the bottom, sort of squish it up, and then connect the pieces. I'm just going to move these guys out the way while I'm doing this one. This is maybe too runny, but it'll be fine. Trying to make sure any of the places where you've connected pieces are connected. I'm going to dig out around the side because it's getting a little lippy. But you do still want to try and work as fast as you can because the cement will dry. Smoothing it out around the top. Well, that will be the top. Okay. And just sort of tapping it smooths out the actual texture on the surface. And then you sort of, I want to sort of form a flat base, which is difficult because my fingers are not flat. Yeah, like that, and then grab a pencil. I should have mentioned that as well, or a pen, and just make yourself a little hole. All right, I'm gonna go through and do the rest of these. Okay, so they are all done. It ended up taking me an extra batch and a half to do all 10 pots. Yeah, so now we just put them somewhere out of the rain to dry. You can put them pretty much anywhere, and it takes, the packet I have says it takes a day, but if you wait 2, they'll be even harder. I have taken some out before after a day and they were still a bit crumbly, and this happened. But you can glue them back together. You've just got an extra airy pot. Yes, I'd wait 2 days or a week even, and they'll be all ready, and you'll have something like this. And all you need to do when the pots are dry is slide out your mold or your mold pot, and then you can just tear at the newspaper. If you want, you can wet it and try and get it all off, but you don't really need to. It'll break down in time, and the good thing about cement is that it will wick just like clay does, so you can use it for anything that you would put in a terracotta pot. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you did. Catch you around.